full race live stream coverage of the Richmond International Raceway regular season finale on the NASCAR 06 Do It For Dale Cup Series edition. We are at Richmond under the lights for 400 miles around this 3/4 mile short track to decide who will be the regular season champion and who will be the 10 drivers racing for a championship start the chase later this week at New Hampshire. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into tonight's full race live stream realistic commentary coverage. On the video game side of things, of course, today, but in real life yesterday, the NASCAR Cup Series raced at Richmond. Did live commentary for that. I'll be doing live commentary for this weekend's Sunday Cup race at Watkins Glen as well, so be sure to tune in for that one later this afternoon. But for tonight's action, we've got to get down to business. Our driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., comes in with 10 wins on the season and comes in 4th in the points. Out of contention to get the regular season championship following a DNF at the California Speedway in the last race 2 nights ago. And as far as we go into this race, we can finish as high as 2nd in the point standings. And it's actually relatively simple to finish 2nd in the point standings. If Dale Jr. leads the most laps, wins the race, and Tony Stewart finishes 3rd or worse, that means Dale Jr. will be the number 2 seed when we start the chase at New Hampshire. So that is going to be the goal for Earnhardt today, and a good qualifying effort will go a long way in that. He dominated Richmond earlier this season. This is one of my best racetracks on this game. This and New Hampshire factor, in my opinion, the 2 best tracks for myself on this game. So I think it's going to be a pretty good race for Dale Jr., and we'll just see if he can play it on the right side of the strategy, and hopefully cautions don't linger, some of that strategy being pulled, but looking for momentum heading into the chase for sure. Wade Solinsky, Patrick Shadley, Alex Bowman. Fake Alex Bowman, of course. I got to say that just in case, because some people get confused. Kids probably would easily get confused, I feel like. Train Fan, NASCAR Cup Series 2311 Racing, Billy Carjoy, Derek Booth, and others. Welcome into the stream. And let's get ready for the Chevy Rock and Roll 400. And why not a Chevrolet win the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 today, as we've got Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Budweiser 8 car. Or, of course, the Dale Jr. car in this aspect, because couldn't have the Budweiser games in this time period for, I mean, they could have, but it wouldn't have been rated E for everybody, so it wouldn't have been a great move. It's not like now where you can put your age verification in because everything's online. So 2 laps for Dale Jr. to try and set the quick time. He had a great setup at Richmond earlier this year, so didn't even practice for this race. Felt confident with the setup coming into qualifying today. Just keep the car glued down to the bottom of the track to turns 1 and 2. So far, so good as he rolls into 3 and 4. Oh, a little tight that time in 3 and 4. That's going to maybe cost him a shot at the pole. No, he still gets good corner exit speed, 21.932. That will be a pole for Dale Earnhardt Jr. tonight. And it looked like he got the pole by a little over 1/10 of a second over Tony Stewart, who qualified 2nd. And Stewart and Biffle are the 2 drivers that still have a shot at the regular season championship yet. But as long as Carl Edwards finishes, I believe, 37th or better, he will definitely win the regular season championship. So pretty easy for Edwards tonight. As long as he pretty much finishes the race, he'll have a good shot. But if he does DNF, look out for Stewart or Biffle to maybe steal it away from him. And as far as the bubble going into today's race, you'll see the points at the top of the screen as well as the win list on the season so far this year at the top of the screen. Elliott Sadler is the only driver below the cutoff line that could actually point his way in, and he is only 42 points behind former champion Bobby Labonte. So we're going to be looking at Bobby Labonte, and we're going to be looking at Elliott Sadler throughout the course of the night. 42 points separate them. Mike Bliss has to finish 41st or better to clinch a spot in the chase. I almost said the playoffs, but the same thing. To clinch a spot in the chase, Mike Bliss has to finish 41st or better. And then I believe 30th or better would end up locking up a spot for, having a brain fart here for a second, would lock up a spot for Kurt Busch. That's right. And Kurt Busch is coming off a win at California. He did just win the most recent race. So that is also worth noting. All right, let's get into this race. Green flag is going to be in the air, and we are underway. So race off into turns 1 and 2. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to pull clear of Tony Stewart on the outside lane off the exit of turn 2. Seating does matter to a certain extent with this chase format. 5 points per position for each of the 10 drivers that will qualify for the chase. Dale Jr. will get 5 bonus points for leading lap number 1. Needs to have a solid performance today if he's going to want a shot. Now, if he doesn't win the race, he'll have to finish 4 positions better than Stewart, so it's a little easier if he wins because it's a bigger points increment between first and second versus second on throughout every other position in the field. And further back in the field you go, the least amount of points are separated for position. I think it's 5 points per position through the top 5, then it's 4 points through the top 10, and then every point outside the top 10 or every position outside the top 10 is separated by 3 points. Race started late due to rain. Now we're underway. I didn't see exactly what you were talking about. Noah Hall, welcome to the stream. Well, if the 3 drivers ahead of me crash and have issues, we still can't catch Carl Edwards. It doesn't matter. We're too many points behind Edwards to win. I think we would finish, I'd have to see how much. I don't have that at the top of the screen exactly. Well, we're too far back to get the regular season championship. Even if Edwards finishes last with no laps led and we lead every lap of the race and win, we're still a little too far back. You can score up to 190 points in a race, but I think I was 164 back if I'm not mistaken. And you can only outscore another driver by 156. So we can actually get within single digits, but we can't actually win the regular season title no matter what. But a DNF out of Edwards, though, that opens the door up for Greg Biffle and Tony Stewart. Biffle's likely going to have to win this race, though, if he is going to have a shot, even if Edwards DNFs. Tony Stewart, as long as he gets a top 5 to top 10, really, in an Edwards DNF, I think he'll end up getting the regular season title. Oh, it's because the lights are bright. Yeah, it does seem like this race is like in the middle of the dark. It's not like in today's games where you have the slow day to night transitions. So it kind of looks like you can see the sun faintly going away. No, this is... Yeah, it looks like it's like the end of the race. We're just getting started. But it stays this way the whole time, though. Starts at 10, ends at 10. And Mark DeMars, welcome to the stream as well. I didn't see you in the chat earlier. People watching before the start of the race. I do appreciate you guys tuning in, though, here tonight. Looks like Jeff Gordon's in second place in the early going. Dale Jr. is holding on to that 1 second race lead. We saw in the truck race at Richmond that the long run speed wasn't really there for Ron Hornaday, but in the Busch Series race at Richmond, Dale Jr. pretty much dominated, and even when he was back in traffic, he was able to get himself back to the front of the field. Just got to keep the car clean today. Obviously, you want the momentum going into the chase, but there are obviously spots that he can gain as well. Like every race is a night race, is that what you're saying, Wade? I feel like each track just looks better under the lights. Like, aesthetically, it looks better under the lights than in the daytime. Pretty much every track. Go out there, get win number 11. Yep. There's a very good chance Dale Jr. could go back-to-back with his two best racetracks on the schedule and being Richmond and New Hampshire as far as this game. Obviously, you think of Dale Jr.'s best racetracks in real life, you probably think of Talladega and maybe Daytona, but for myself, that's not quite the case in this game. Yeah, I'd rather be 5 points out than 15, and even if Dale Jr. DNFs, he could actually fall back as far as 6th in the point standings if he does DNF. Like he did at California in the last race, while he was running in 5th with just 9 laps to go when he wrecked. That's the devastating part about it. He could still have a chance at the regular season championship going into his best track today. He would still need help. It was looking like he was going to gain points on Edwards. He was only 100 points back going into the night. Both him and Edwards led quite a few laps in the race. I believe Dale Jr. did lead the most, but ended up with a 36th place finish. So he was the last car to DNF of those who did end up wrecking out or blowing an engine. So 3 DNFs so far for this season on Dale Jr., and 2 of them have been in the last 3 races. So this is definitely a track he could get everything cleaned up, go out there, dominate, and try to set himself as a championship favorite. He hasn't been the most consistent through the first 26 races following this race today, but he's definitely looking like a championship contender. Can't afford to DNF in the chase, though. You DNF once, you're probably done. Unless everybody DNFs once, then I guess he would still have a chance, but pretty much going to be all about who can finish the most races, and likely who can finish the most races on the lead lap is going to be the big thing. If you're getting lead lap finishes, you'll be in contention. Obviously, if there's any other drivers that end up having only lead lap finishes, you're still going to want those top 5s and top 10s for sure, but just to get to the end of the race, it can be a struggle at certain tracks. The intermediate tracks have been Dale Jr.'s worst collectively, and there's quite a bit of mile and a halves in the chase. Have to go to Charlotte, Atlanta, Texas, Homestead, Kansas, which we haven't raced at the Cup Series in this game yet. We've only raced there in the Truck Series so far. So 5 mile and a half racetracks, plus Dover, which is one of Dale Jr.'s worst tracks on this game. So this is, or my worst tracks on this game. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge. The chase is not going to be easy. Talladega, I struggle at the super speedways on this game. It's going to be a struggle. There are a few good tracks. Martinsville's a track I look at that I could win. I've been really good on the short tracks in this game. Obviously, New Hampshire is probably my best track on this game, aside from Richmond. So, I mean, that's a good start. Phoenix, Jr. ran well at, won the Cup race at least there earlier this season. So going to 3 tracks I won at earlier in the year. But everywhere else we either haven't ran yet, like Homestead or Kansas, or I just didn't get great finishes at the other tracks. It will be a challenge. A lot of those races are longer too. Atlanta's 500 miles, Texas is 500 miles, Charlotte's 500 miles, Talladega's 500 miles. Those races are really just going to be about really trying to be patient, hone it in. It's something Dale Jr. struggled with over the last few races especially. What JJ did in 2007, win 4 in a row. Yeah. That's going to be tough. I don't even think I've won 3 in a row on this game before that I can remember in any of the series. I know I've won back-to-back a few times in each series. I don't think I've won 3 in a row. Definitely an opportunity to go back-to-back again over these next couple races, but Dover's going to be a big hurdle, which is the second race of the chase. 29 laps into this one so far. Still quite a ways yet to go. 2.8 second lead for Dale Jr. over Jeff Gordon. I did win 3 in a row. Honestly, can't remember what races I won 3 in a row at. I have all the stats pulled up. Like, I could easily go back and look it up. I only went back-to-back once, jeez. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you guys, this game is hard. I've been wrecking a lot lately on this game, and I know a lot of that's just a stretch of racetracks I'm going to. I'm so good at the short tracks, so I feel like the Truck Series I'm starting to clean it up because there's a lot of short tracks I've been racing at lately. The Busch and the Cup Series, I feel like I've been wrecking a lot more, specifically in the Cup Series. It's just hard. This game is really difficult. On the hardest difficulty and with no stability help, it is very difficult, especially in the full races. And I think that's why I'm lacking more in the Cup Series, because the races are longer than in the Busch and Truck Series. They're not sprint races. That's why it's so important to qualify well, even in the longer races. I mean, Dale Jr. hasn't had to worry about a single car this entire race. He was able to clear Jeff Gordon on the initial start off the exit of turn 2. Hasn't looked back since. It's helped that it stayed caution-free so far, but also a bunch of clean air so far in this race as he has not caught any lap traffic. Just hoping the handling's there on the long run, which I believe it should, because I don't remember long run speed being bad the first race at Richmond earlier this season. I'm sure we'll see some cautions. I think we saw a handful of yellows in the Busch Series and Truck Series race here. 2 in the Truck side, and I think we had a few extras in the Busch Series race. But we know there's going to be some desperation going on with Elliott Sadler and Bobby Labonte. We'll try to make sure that we check on them every single chance we get. Pay attention to every single car that blows an engine today if we can, which so far all 43 cars are still on the racetrack. Really, Mike Bliss is the only driver I can think of right now that is almost certainly locked in. Even Kurt Busch, for that matter, can be. I mean, honestly, he just finishes the race and gets a top 30, which I think in Roush Fenway equipment in 2005, he's definitely capable of. He'll be all right. He's just got to make it to the end of the race. We've seen the Roush cars blow engines at times throughout the course of the season. That means 4 of the Roush drivers are going to make the chase if Kurt Busch gets in tonight. Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards are already locked in, and Edwards is about to win the regular season champion more likely than not. It's going to be 4 Roush Fenway Fords against 2 Hendrick Chevys of Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, who are locked in. 1 DEI Chevrolet of Dale Jr. is locked in. He's not going to have any teammates in the chase that he can work with. Obviously, Talladega is probably going to be the biggest race he can try to work with his teammates. We know the DEI car is always strong there. And Dale Jr. did win at Talladega earlier this year, even though he has not ran well at Daytona. Talladega he has ran much better at least in the Cup Series. He struggled in the Busch race there, but the Cup Series, he was able to win that 500-mile Talladega race earlier this season in a 3-wide finish. Actually beat out 2 Roush cars and Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch that day. Spectacular finish, and with more on the line here at this point in the season, too. That's going to make for a very entertaining race when we get to that point in the chase. R6, welcome into the stream. Yeah, I'm excited to get the chase started on this game. The season has taken a while, but at the same time, it feels like it's going by so quickly. I look at the Truck and the Busch Series schedule, and we only have like 7 races to go in both series already. I think actually we only have 6 left in the Trucks and 7 in the Busch. Three-and-a-half-second lead for Dale Jr. as he is just catching lap traffic for the first time into turn 3 at lap 44. Michigan winner John Andretti will be the last car in line that he is going to catch first. He's going to make sure he takes his time getting through the lap traffic. By that, I mean he's just not going to dive it in late into the corner. You know, the best time to pass and get underneath the car is likely going to be off the exit of turn 4. So turn 1 and 2 is likely going to be his passing corner. 3 and 4 is going to be the corner. He just kind of sits there, and he got a little tight and dirty air behind Terry Labonte that time. Couldn't really get the car to turn down and keep that low exit like he has been most of the time when he's in clean air. It's the first time we've seen Dale Jr. in traffic in the first 45 laps. So it's probably going to slow the car down a little bit. I'm sure with Jeff Gordon having much clean air compared to Dale Jr., he's likely going to close in a bit. Now he keeps the low exit off turn 4 and gets underneath Terry Labonte, and it looks like he may actually get underneath Casey Mears in the 41 car as well. Labonte trying to potentially take it 3 wide. And Michael Waltrip at the tail end of the lead lap right now. He's in danger of going a lap down early on. 15 car struggling in the early going. Going to be able to see these guys go a little bit over 100 laps on a full field run today, so we're likely looking at 3 pit stops. 3 pit stop race for tonight. It's not like Richmond now where there's a bunch of tire wear. This is a completely different style of Richmond racetrack. It's a fight for the bottom. There's a lot more grip as well, though, especially in the nighttime conditions also. We're going to go through our first field pass of the race today. We're going to switch to Michael Waltrip, see if we can get him up through the field a little bit better. Means Dale Jr. is coming. Oh, that was an aggressive move by Waltrip. Just knocked his own car up out of the way. Yeah, we don't want to cause a wreck right in front of the race leader here, considering that Dale Jr. is the one leading. Too bad we can't switch to Kenny Wallace at all. Maybe if we started the race as Waltrip, I wonder if that'd be an opportunity. Probably not. I only say that because it's a Michael Waltrip racing car. I guess there's always NASCAR 07. And behind. And Waltrip is actually driving for MWR. And Michael Waltrip's got a massive run into turns 1 and 2. Gets into Jeff Green. And Jeff Green tried to hit him back. Waltrip had no problem running through him there because he wants to try to pass these cars for position, but he remembers Jeff Green took a swing at him back in the last race at California. Waltrip a little edgy going into turn 1. He can't quite grip up on the bottom lane as well as Dale Jr. is. Seems like Waltrip's car is a little bit looser. Zion Hall, welcome to the stream. Waltrip to the inside of Nemechek. Rusty Wallace having a kind of a poor start to this one. Michael Waltrip, who was outside the top 30 for a large majority of the race already, now up to 23rd. He is still 19 seconds off the lead. There's a lot of lap cars Dale Jr. is about to get into here soon. And now we'll see where Martin Truex Jr. in the 1 car is at in the field. Will be a future 3-time winner here at Richmond. But for right now, he is in 16th, and he is 15.5 seconds off the race lead from Earnhardt. Dale Jr. has led every lap so far in the early going of the race. Stephen McPeak, welcome into the stream. Bobby Labonte in the 15th place position right now. Jimmy Johnson right in front of him. He's got a couple spots up for grabs right in front of him, but he's also in danger of losing a spot to Truex here before long. Labonte looking to the inside of Johnson off the exit of turn 2. He's going to get there. And he'll stay low into 3 and 4. Truex rides in line behind him, looking 3 wide to the inside off the exit of the corner. Labonte picks up a spot on Johnson, but he's about to lose a spot to Truex. And does. Johnson is going to be able to cross Labonte over into 1 and 2 following the 1 car. Down on the bottom. Truex on the inside of Jeremy Mayfield, who won this race in 2004, the season prior to this one. The September Richmond date. So Truex up to 13th place. A couple more laps and we'll go back to Dale Jr. He's getting through lap traffic really well right now. Seems on the track map at least. Quiet start to the race so far. And we'll go back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Lead has shrunk just a bit. I think Jeff Gordon was definitely gaining time. Well, Earnhardt was in lap traffic, and Dale Jr. was in dirtier air compared to Gordon in the cleaner air until he caught lap traffic. So the lead's down to 2.3 seconds. It was about 3.5 prior to that field pass. Manageable gap, though, still for Earnhardt. Nothing to worry about. It does seem as if he's got the fastest car in the field in the early going yet. So he gets to the inside of, I believe that's Jeff Burton in the 31 car to his outside. He's got around Jeff Green. Turns 1 and 2. Gets by Burton in 3 and 4. A lot of guys racing fairly clean with each other right now. Remember the truck race at Richmond, there was bump and runs almost every corner. A lot more tame in this Cup Series race, at least with it being much longer. Truck race was 200 laps, this one 400, twice the length. Halfway out of fuel right now for Dale Jr. at lap 64. Probably looking at about 128 laps of fuel, maybe a little less than that. It's about where Dale Jr. can go in a full tank. Kyle Petty with a bit of a block on the front stretch as he drives to the inside of Boris Said for a position, and he's desperately trying to stay in the lead lap right now in front of race leader Dale Jr. And Jr. starting to widen that gap out over Gordon just a little bit more again as it's out to about a 2.8 second lead at the line. Wild Bill, welcome to the stream. Are you in this chat? Because you chose to be, I guess. I don't know. Why are you in this chat? Now a 3-second lead for Dale Jr. Kyle Petty's been past quite a few cars for position. Starting to pick up the pace once the 8 car got right behind him. Jr. got a better drive off turn 2. Oh, Petty just overdrove the corner as he hit the inside retaining wall going into turn 3. Well, there's the mistake that allowed Dale Jr. to get by him and put him a lap down. Trying to get back down to the bottom. Now he's going to lose the free pass position to Dale Jarrett. Corey Freet, welcome into the stream as well. Rusty Wallace trying to get back by Michael Waltrip for position. Joe Nemechek, the last car in the lead lap in the 01 Army Chevrolet for MB2 Motorsports. "70 laps complete, caution-free so far." Waltrip stays right in front of Rusty Wallace for now. Drove Waltrip up to about 22nd. Nemechek to the inside of Wallace for position. E2 is also trying to stay in front of Dale Jr., stay in the lead lap as long as possible, because you never know when a caution could come out. Really low exit to turn 4, though. That allows Earnhardt to get by Rusty Wallace to the inside of Nemechek into 1 and 2. And now his teammate Michael Waltrip will be the last driver on the lead lap. And there's a 3.2-second lead for Dale Jr. over second place Jeff Gordon right now, assuming Gordon is still in second. Tony Stewart started second, but lost a few spots off the start, and now Michael Waltrip got to go a lap down. Junior's hoping to clear him quickly, so that way Waltrip could get down to the bottom before Joe Nemechek could get down underneath the 15, and it looks like that is the case. Waltrip's able to get back down to the inside. Trying to get Waltrip to follow Dale Jr. so he stays on the inside, hopefully. Because he's going to lose that free pass position with every car that Dale Jr. puts a lap down, as he just passed the 77 car of Travis Quaffle that time through 3 and 4. Brian Vickers, Jimmy Spencer, Ricky Rudd, and Jamie McMurray are the next 4 cars that are about to go lap down. Waltrip will get by Quaffle through 1 and 2. Quaffle, the rookie in the 77. For Penske. Took over for Brendan Gaughan from the season before in our NASCAR 05 gameplay. Junior's got to run now. Oh, Waltrip spins into the wall hard as he collects Brian Vickers' trouble on the racetrack. Our first caution of the day. Oh, man. Just got loose. I saw it out of the rearview mirror. Comes back down the racetrack. Kyle Petty gets collected as well, and we have our first caution. I don't know how he lost it, but he lost it going into the corner, and Vickers was already on his outside. Quite a bit of damage to the front of the 15 car, and the rough season for Michael Waltrip continues. And we'll be seeing pit stops likely, I'm sure, for the first time today. Dale Jr. will pit from the lead, and he'll bring everybody else in behind him. 4 tires of fuel for the 8 car, and it looks like pretty much the entire field will follow after the first caution of the race. And Jeff Gordon going to win the race off of pit road. It looked like a clean stop for the 18. And green flag will be back in the air. All the lap cars will be down on the inside of the racetrack for the restart. Junior can't get down to the inside quickly enough. Jason Leffler pulls up in front of him. Junior trying to get back down to the inside. He might have been clear on Dale Jarrett, but he wanted to make sure he didn't want to turn himself. Jarrett gets up into the side of Dale Jr. Into the wall goes the 8. And Gordon is clear of all the lap cars at the front of the field as he holds on to the lead. Junior finally down to the bottom. It looked like Dale Jarrett got back at the gas a bit too soon off turn 4. Got up into Earnhardt. Luckily we stayed green through it. And Gordon getting 5 bonus points as well for leading the lap. He comes in 6th in points after he too DNF'd at California with an engine failure. Junior already underneath Jason Leffler. Leffler tries to crowd him middle of the corner, and Dale Jr. will get by Leffler. Need to get the chat back up on my screen. And Borisset drives it in deep into 1 and 2. Gets by Gordon to get his lap back instantly, but then he goes wide in front of the 24. That allows Dale Jr. to take the lead off turn 2. And he'll get by the lap car Borisset in turns 3 and 4 and clear him off the exit of the corner. Dale Jr. back out in front at Richmond after Gordon was able to lead a handful of laps off the restart. And as well winning the race off pit road, leading a few laps under caution too. Three-car crash between Michael Waltrip, Kyle Petty, Brian Vickers. All of whom were a lap down at the time of the caution. And Dale Jr., who had about a 3.5 second lead over Jeff Gordon, now going to have to try to grow that gap back out again. Everybody pitted under the yellow. Likely, it's going to be really close on whether the field can actually make the rest of this race on still 2 more stops, or if it's still a 3-stopper to the end from when they pitted during that caution. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. It may be a 2-stop race yet to the finish. I can go at least 125 laps on fuel. I need to get the chat back up on my laptop, by the way. Try to do it without pausing it. Keep the flow of the race going. Okay, well, I did it. I got in the wall a little bit. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Dark Crypto, welcome to the stream. Well, it was leaked that is going to happen with Texas. Hasn't been confirmed yet. It does sound like it is likely to happen, though, that they're going to reconfigure the racetrack. I prefer Texas short track. Unless each track gets 1 day a year. Like, we have enough super speedways. I didn't even want Atlanta the super speedway it was as it is now. Like, yeah, it's all right. And it puts on good racing, but definitely not a long-term solution. Like, we don't need an oversaturation of super speedways. I've talked about it long before when Atlanta was announced. I was like, well, if this is a success, what's to say other mile-and-a-half tracks are going to do that for revenue purposes? And then you're going to run into the same situation you ran into all this time ago with the how many intermediate tracks there are. There's too many mile-and-a-halves, so now there's going to be too many super speedways if we keep doing this with every single super speedway, or mile-and-a-half and turning them into super speedways. So I don't want that. Got to do it for Dale in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. I wanted to golf this weekend, but I was feeling a little bit under the weather, so I didn't. It's been really nice at my house recently. It's been like mid to high 70s, like pretty much since Tuesday. thoughts on Kimi Räikkönen racing? Well, I mean, I think it's good. Anytime you get like high-profile, internationally known drivers like a Kimi Räikkönen who came from Formula One in, I mean, that's going to put more eyes on the sport for, you know, the race weekend, and maybe they watch and they get hooked on the rest of the sport, and they end up watching, you know, more than just that race that Räikkönen's in. So it's good anytime you get that. I mean, it was awesome when Juan Pablo Montoya, you know, ran full time, kind of had a little bit of that, former Formula One driver, of course, now a multiple-time Indy 500 champ. At the time, he was only a one-time Indy 500 champ. But you get the crossover like that, it does help with ratings and all that. So it kind of stinks that this weekend's on USA Network, though. I think that might hurt the ratings. I feel like it's going to be a lot harder for people that are, you know, even international fans of NASCAR in general to watch on the cable races, let alone wanting to see how Räikkönen does rather than just reading about it or watching highlights of it after the fact. I'm definitely feeling a lot better today, though, I will say. He's not currently in F1, though, anymore. Isn't he retired, though? I could be wrong. Maybe he's not retired. I really don't watch Formula One. I knew he was a former champ. I just don't know if he's still in the sport. I feel like he retired last season. Just over 100 laps complete. One caution for a 3-car wreck in turns 3 and 4 so far in today's race. He retired last year. I thought I might have heard that from somewhere before. I mean, that explains why this weekend's open for him. And he did race NASCAR once before. He ran a truck in an Xfinity Series race at Charlotte. I don't remember what year that was. I think it was in the early 2010s. Sometime around there. Because it was when the Xfinity Series had the composite bodies. Yeah, it is a one-off. That, by as far as I know, that's the only race that 91 car is going to be ran this year for Trackhouse. I don't think they've announced any other races for anybody to drive that, but they're willing to run more races on a part-time schedule with other drivers coming in to race that car in the future. I know Justin Marks has talked about it publicly before. In fact, on his episode of the Dale Jr. Download, I'm pretty sure is when he first started discussing the idea of what they were doing with the Project 91 program at Trackhouse Racing. Dale Jr. didn't make any adjustment changes during that pit stop, but he is pulling away a lot quicker now than what he was earlier in the race. He's already got a 3.7 second lead, and he hasn't hit any lap traffic yet. His largest lead was only about 3.5 seconds prior to that caution coming out. So Dale Jr. is definitely running some quick laps. By the way, with Waltrip causing and being involved in that last accident, remember he was involved in 3 accidents at the California Speedway in the last race. Actually 4, because he blew a tire on the back straightaway on the green-white checker restart too. So he was involved in 4 accidents on his own last weekend, and now this week he's caught up in the first caution of the race at Richmond. Rough go for Waltrip at the end of the regular season. He had real no shot at the chase anyway from how bad he ran at the beginning of the year. I think he only has 2 or 3 top 10s all season, too. It's been a terrible year for Waltrip. Even his rookie teammates outperformed him, and I believe was 17th in points coming into the race today. Waltrip outside the top 25 in points most of the year. Over a 4.5 second lead now for Dale Earnhardt Jr. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. Under the screen fly condition right now. Almost a 5-second lead for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just over 100 laps in. He's dominated the race. He's not going to go wire to wire because Jeff Gordon won the race off of pit road during that caution flag period and was able to lead the first few laps after the restart as well. Where Dale Jr. eventually got around him and quickly pulled away. Now we'll transfer to the in-car camera. Luckily, that one accident that already happened today was behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. Hopefully, if there's any other wrecks mid-pack, it'll be behind him as well. Or at least far enough ahead of him that we won't have to worry about trying to miss it at the last second. This race is going too well for him right now to have something like that happen. Listening in on Kyle Petty, one of the cars that were involved in that last accident, as Junior pulls to the inside of him off the exit of turn 2. Nice little pass made on the 45 car. Petty now 2 laps down. Definitely clear Dale Jr. has the fastest car in the field today. Expected that coming in. Oh, contact with Shane Meal off the exit of turn 4. Jr. might have cut down thinking Meal was not underneath him, even though he was. I'll put the blame on Earnhardt there. Thought he was already clear before he moved down. He wasn't. Turned himself off the exit of turn 4. Not something you want to do while you're leading a race. Man, Rusty Wall's falling back even more. Look at how far back this 2 car is in the field. He's struggling to stay in the top 40 right now. I don't think anybody has DNF'd yet that I know of. prefer this season compared to Dale Jr.'s real season in 05? Didn't Dale Jr. compete for the title in 2005 for most of the year? I could be wrong. I'm not like the biggest Dale Jr. fan, so I don't. He wasn't my favorite driver growing up, so I have no clue. I think there was some contact up about where Jeff Green was. I mean, heck, we're going for 11 wins today. I'm sure I would prefer this over any season any of my favorite drivers had in real life, too. ...2004, 905. Wasn't there 2 years he, like, really competed for the title? I know 04 was one of them. Was it 06? There was another season where I thought he was, like, top 5 in points at the end of the year. Six. See Michael Waltrip up the way. End up going a second lap down. Blocked by the 119 car. Dale Jr. is looking underneath him, fighting for that spot. Put the 119 a lap down. Jr. drove it in extremely deep into the corner. He still clears Kenny Schrader off the exit of turn 2 at least. Largest lead of the day so far for Dale Jr. 6.7 seconds over Jeff Gordon, who I'd assume is still in second place. As Gordon and Earnhardt have ran 1-2 the entirety of the first 131 laps so far tonight. Oh, Jeff Green moving Casey Mears out of the way. A couple dodges side by side now off turn 4. Into the inside of Mears, following Green on the bottom. Jr. to the inside of Green off turn 4, looking to put Waltrip a second lap down here before long as well. Dale drives underneath of Mikey. Anyone else's second is probably Carl Edwards. I honestly didn't even look out of the review on the last restart to see who was in like third and fourth behind me. So I really have no clue exactly who it might have been. Kyle Busch kind of leading this pack right now up ahead. Oof, big Slide getting into turn 3. Dale Jr. overdrove the corner. Slides back in line behind Jeff Burton. Contact with Burton. Moving him up out of the groove. Bush versus Bush versus Bush. Who wins? What's the other Bush you're talking about, Brexton? Not even old enough to drive a real car yet. 3 wide pass through 1 and 2 for Earnhardt to put a couple more cars a second lap down to Ricky Rudd and Kenny Walls. Kevin Harvick for life. Welcome to the stream. Kevin Harvick fan for life. Welcome. Jimmy Spencer down to the inside of Kyle Busch. Busch about to go a lap down. I don't think he fell a lap down prior to the first caution. So I believe he's the last car in the lead lap. Not anymore. Mark Truex Jr. drove up to 13th at one point before the first caution. Not too many more spots up ahead of Dale Jr. currently. Halfway out of gas so far during this run. And we'll transfer back to Michael Waltrip for now as we'll take our second and final field pass of the day. The early going of the race. And we'll swap to Truex after about 4 laps. Try to get him up through the field a little bit better as he's towards the tail end of the lead lap right now. Waltrip currently 2 laps down in 29th. Definitely got some spots up for grabs though in front of him as he dive bombs underneath of Jeff Burton into turns 1 and 2. Now his own car of Kenny Wallace, Travis Kvapil, Ricky Rudd, Jimmy Spencer, Kyle Busch up ahead yet. Getting some positions back at least. 28 people watching right now. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you are tuning in for the first time. Whether it's tonight or the first time ever. Waltrip trying to get down underneath of Ricky Rudd. Oh, Rudd into the inside wall and drives up the track, almost clipping the 5 of Kyle Busch. Going into turn 3. Second time we've seen a car do that today. I think Casey Mears did that very early in the race too. One more lap and we'll transfer to Martin Truex Jr. Lost 8 pounds from 186 to 178. Nice, man. And now we'll transfer to Martin Truex Jr., who is in 18th. And I believe the last car on the lead lap, because I don't think Boris Said is on the lead lap. I think he's 1 lap down. About 5 positions for grabs up ahead of Truex, which would put him back into 13th. We can get by all of them. Actually, not all for position. Brian Vickers is a lap down. He was involved in that last yellow. And only caution of the race so far. I guess Vickers was for position. I wonder if he was in the free pass spot when the caution waved, even though he was slightly involved when Waltrip slid up into him. That must have been the case, because that was a pass for a spot. Truex looking low into the corner. Bliss up into the wall. Into Ryan Newman on the outside. Bliss a little desperate here. He can't afford to DNF if he's going to want to make it into the chase. That was a big mistake. sliding up into Ryan Newman like that. Allowing Truex to get by for 14th. Low exit to turn 4. Truex to the inside of Casey Kane in the 9. One more lap will go back to Dale Jr. And Truex right back into 13th where he was at one point earlier in the race. So I think he's tied for the highest position he has been in this race so far today. Not a bad run for the rookie so far. And his second trip to Richmond in the Cup Series. And back to Dale Jr. About a 7.5 second lead for Dale Jr. still. I think Mike Bliss still makes it to DNF, likely. I mean, Sadler would literally have to be in the same position Dale Jr.'s in right now to be able to knock him out. Sadler wouldn't have to lead the most laps and win, but he'd have to win. Bliss would probably have to finish, well, outside of 41st as well. Haven't seen Sadler yet in this race, to be honest. Wonder if he is in the top 10. I know I've seen Bobby Labonte. At one point he was in 15th earlier. He's still on the lead lap. And he's probably higher than 15th now, considering Truex is 13th, and I didn't see him. Of the drivers that Truex passed to go from 18th to 13th in that most recent field pass. Appreciate that, Kevin Harvick fan. An 8.1 second lead now for Earnhardt. Again, the point of this series, trying to get Dale Jr. his first career NASCAR Cup Series championship. And the reason why is because you guys voted for me to race as Dale Jr. on this game when I started the gameplay in various polls in the community tab. And we will be having more polls in the community tab within the next few weeks when we do our custom schedule season on NASCAR 06 for all 3 series. I will be driving as Greg Biffle in the Cup Series, but you guys will still get to vote for who I will drive as in both the Busch and the Truck Series, though. So be sure to cast your votes when the time comes. Still over half the race yet to go. Still at least 2 more pit stops yet until the end of the race also. From where we're at right now. Play NASCAR 15 or 16. I have never played any of the NASCAR U-Technics games. I'd like to at some point in time. Down the road. Trying to go kind of on an annual basis with these classic game playthroughs. Might be a few years before I get there, but I'll definitely hit those games up at some point in time. Mike Bliss. Oh, makes another mistake into the wall. Now into Mark Martin like he did with Ryan Newman. It's like when you go to make a pass on the inside at turn 3, it's like the driver in front of you just kind of overdrives the corner trying to block. Second time Bliss has hit the inside wall. And he actually moved past Martin that time versus when he got into Ryan Newman earlier. Newman got right back around him in the next corner. And now that's going to put Mark Martin a lap down. Or at least a second lap down if he wasn't already a lap down. Bliss to the inside of Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. And now Jimmy's trying to block. Junior overdrives turns 3 and 4. And Bliss got to cross Johnson over. Good battle for position going on between the 0 and the 48. Miracle run for Mike Bliss in the Haas Automation number 0, net 0 Chevrolet, and what an underdog year he has had. He's up towards the top of the list for the most top 10 so far this season. Johnson got to get back by him. Dale Jr. to the inside of Jimmy Johnson as well. Johnson is going to go lap down off turn 4. Red Wolf, welcome to the stream. Junior on the inside. 3 wide, I believe, with Brian Vickers and Ryan. No, not Ryan Newman. Who's that car on the outside? Couldn't even tell. I think it was Jason Leffler in the 11. Leffler was already 1 lap down. And I could be the Rocket Man. It's just because Biffle was my favorite driver when I was growing up. He's got a lot of cool paint schemes in this game, too. I mean, you got the original National Guard. Of course, Biffle car, which is probably the best, not one of the best paint schemes Biffle ever had in his career. Got the Subway car, a couple different variations of it. I think his Aflac car is in this game, if I'm not mistaken, too. I could be wrong on that. It might be in this game, though. Nice powdered blue car. I know it's posted cars in this game. He's got a lot of paint schemes. He's got like 5 or 6 of them. Where does Mike Bliss finish this race? Well, right now he's a lap down. He's outside the top 10. Truex just went a lap down. He was in 13th. And then Dale Jr. passed another car beyond Truex as well. So probably looking at anywhere between 12 to 13 cars likely on the lead lap. Dale Jr.'s got a 10-second lead over second place. By the way, the patience in playing these EA games honestly is a lot better than playing the NASCAR 21 Ignition game on 100%. 10 times better. It can get hectic from time to time. I will say I have not played NASCAR 08 or NASCAR 09 ever before, and I've heard those games can be a little glitchy at times. So, hopefully it's not too bad. I've definitely noticed a lot more AI-related cautions in this game compared to 05 and 06. Like, 05 was a little bit of a step, or this game compared to 05 and 04. This game is a little step up from 05, and 05 was a little step up from NASCAR Thunder 2004. We have not had a caution-free cup race at all yet this season. We have had one caution already today, back at about lap 77. So, closing in on about a 100-lap green flag run as of right now. Newman never won a championship. This is true. I mean, every game I play, you guys are going to be able to vote for who I race as. For at least one of the 2 seasons. So there will definitely be other options for me to race as your guys' favorite drivers. Into the corner. Up the track. Oh my gosh. Casey Kane just body slammed Shane Meal up out of the way. Meal a lap down. Big mistake by Kane. Junior's got the run going into turns 1 and 2. 3 wide right now. Kyle Petty on the outside. Casey Kane desperately trying to stay on the lead lap. Not going to happen. That mistake has costed him. And now he's the first car 1 lap down. But Ryan Newman's the last car in the lead lap. So now Casey Kane's hoping that Newman doesn't lose a lap before a potential caution. I see Tony Stewart up ahead. Remember, that is who has to finish 3rd or worse for Dale Jr. if Dale Jr. gets a max points today to finish 2nd in points. Jr. going to get by Terry Labonte. Labonte 3 laps down. John Andretti about to lose his 3rd lap as well. NASCAR 08 on PS2? I think so. I'm not sure if 08 or 09 you can play on the PS3. Like, if they have, like, an actual PS3 disc for it. If they do, I'm going to have to get a new PS3 by that time. But I'm still a ways down the road. I'll have time to, you know, buy one off of Amazon or something. Newman closing in on Tony Stewart for position as he dive bombs to the inside in turns 1 and 2. Dale Jr. trying to follow the Rocket Man. And Stewart will go a lap down in 3 and 4. Just over 100 laps into this green flag run. Following the first caution of the race earlier today. With contact on the back straightaway as Mayfield kind of turned down the middle of the straightaway on Dale Jr. Newman's pressing hard right now. Trying to at least get the green flag pit stops on the lead lap. Junior with a little mistake. Newman's going to gap him a bit through 3 and 4. King Diamond Jeff, welcome into the stream. $19 likes on the stream so far. Again, thanks for everybody hitting that like button. Be sure to do so if you have not already. Still in the first half of tonight's Chevy Rock and Roll 400 at the Richmond International Raceway. Live on KRC for a Do It for Dale NASCAR 06 season. Final race of the regular season before the chase begins at New Hampshire later this week. And Ryan Newman, last car on the lead lap still. Newman being Newman. Trying to hold up the race leader and desperately try to stay on the lead lap. Junior's obviously the fastest car in the field, but Newman's hanging on. A little bump to the back of Newman that time. Knocked that 12 car up into the outside lane off turn 4. Dale Jr. down on the bottom through 1 and 2, and he'll be able to use that bump and run to his advantage to get by the 12 car. All clear into 3 and 4, and Ryan Newman potentially trying to cross Dale Jr. back over. Jr. with a block in the tri-oval, trying to keep Newman a lap down. Michael Waltrip is on pit road. We have our first comers onto pit road as of right now for green flag pit stops at lap 187. Everybody pitted under yellow back at lap 77 earlier in the race, so about 110 laps or so into this green flag run, and we're starting to see some drivers hit the pits. Risk of not wanting to go a lap down. Dale Jr. will stay out as long as he can, just in case we get a caution in the middle of green flag stops, which we have had quite a bit on NASCAR 06 on the channel. Stages in this game like in real life? No. Stages were not introduced to NASCAR until 2017, so. Yeah, this was well before that. This takes place at the NASCAR 2005 season. Junior gonna hop out of line. Oh, Ricky Rudd just takes out the 119 and a big wreck right in front of Dale Jr. And Ricky Rudd is up and over in turns 3 and 4. Caution is out for the second time tonight. Wild ride for Ricky Rudd at Richmond, upside down. Junior backed out of the gas because he did not want to be 3 wide middle going into the corner, and it was a smart move because Ricky Rudd ended up wrecking going into the corner as a result. And Dale Jr. will get the pit during the caution flag. That's going to trap quite a few more drivers a lap down that had stayed out of the pits or had pitted before the caution came out. Wild ride. I don't know why my crew chief said that. Pace car's about to lap us. Sorry, sir, but the pace car is actually right in front of us. Best move I ever made. That was a smart move, and I mean, hindsight's 20/20. Obviously, I had no clue that was going to happen. And a wild ride for Ricky Rudd. There were some cars that didn't pit yet that are still going to be on the lead lap. There might have been cars that were on pit road that didn't go a lap down yet as well. Jeff Gordon again wins the race off pit road. That 24 team's been fast in the pits tonight. It looks like he's going to be in the lead potentially. Actually, Greg Biffle will be the leader on the restart as Biffle was... Oh, never mind, Jeff Gordon is the leader. Green flag back in the air. Following our second caution of the race. I started the channel in 2020, by the way. I saw somebody ask that. Oh, contact Bobby Labonte. Knocking him up into the outside lane. So 2 cautions today. That was a violent accident at short track standards. Dale Jr. on the inside of Jeff Gordon. Gordon leads the first lap after the restart, but Dale underneath them 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. And Jr. will quickly take advantage and clear Gordon off the exit of the corner for the lead. Still just shy of the halfway mark in this race. I mean, I started, like, this channel, like, the NASCAR-oriented channel in 2020. There were some videos that were uploaded before that, like, probably 2018, 2019, of just, like, sporting events I'd gone to. Just random stuff. Like, I know I've uploaded stuff from, like, Tigers games I had been to, or University of Michigan football games. I know I uploaded some stuff. That was well before I had even thought about starting, like, an actual legitimate YouTube channel. Come to think of it, I really have no idea why I exactly posted that stuff. I don't know exactly what my first video was. My first stream was NASCAR Heat 4. And it was a Daytona 500 4-race live stream. It was the first season I would have done on that game. Making our one more stop? I do believe so. Considering that we can go about 128 laps roughly on fuel. It's going to determine on, you know, how many more cautions we get. We've had 2 of them already. First half of the race still. If we see a couple more, it's going to be interesting to see exactly when we get them. There's not many cars on the lead lap. There might only be 2 cars on the lead lap for all we know. Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon at least. Because Casey Kane also beat Jr. out of the pits, but he was a lap down right before the caution came out. A lot of these drivers that were 1 lap down that pitted are probably 2 laps down now as well. Play IndyCar or just NASCAR? Just NASCAR for the most part. During the off-season, I'll play other racing games. Like I picked up the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series 2002 game. I played that last winter during the NASCAR off-season. And I plan on finishing that career mode this off-season. I stopped it when Speed Week started back up again because I knew I still had a couple seasons left before I was going to win a championship. So I'll pick that back up again this winter and finish that up. But on the gaming side of things, yeah, that's about all I do. Peter Conover, welcome into the stream. Oh, PS2 has the race ticker, PS3 doesn't? Well, I'll probably just race the PS2 then. I didn't realize that. Halfway home now in tonight's race, and Dale Jr. has led almost every lap, so he'll probably clinch the most laps led over Jeff Gordon probably within the next 5 to 10 laps, I'd have to assume. Kevin Harvick's still in front of him right now, though. Harvick pulling away just as much as Dale Jr. is from Gordon and the rest of the field back behind these guys. I wonder if Ricky Rudd's still in the race after that wild crash. I didn't think we'd see a flip at Richmond today, but we saw a flip at Richmond. Yep, and it is time for today's trivia question on the channel. And I will pause it on the back straightaway so I can search a trivia question up because I did not get one before the start of the stream. So I'll find a trivia question real quick, and then we'll get back into this race. Once Racing Reference loads on my laptop, it's taking a little bit. There it goes. That took a lot longer than what I thought it was going to for it to actually load. I have an idea of a question, but I don't know the answer to it. Yeah, I don't want that as a question. Never mind. It's going to be too easy. I make it a little bit difficult on you guys. It's tough. What can I ask? I've had a lot of Richmond trackbacks over the last couple days on the channel. The truck race and the bush race I ran here and the cup race yesterday. Trying not to ask the same repeat question. Alright, well, how about this? With Ford winning yesterday at the Richmond International Raceway, when was the last time that Ford had swept both races at Richmond in the NASCAR Cup Series? What year? That is tonight's trivia question on the channel. What year was the last year, or most recent year, that Ford has swept the Richmond Cup races? You don't have to name the drivers that won that year, but just what year was it? You can have multiple guesses, but you can't guess in chronological order or descending order as far as the years. But you can have multiple chances to answer tonight's question. And I'll give you guys till lap 220 to get that answer correct. If you guys don't get it before then, no other hints. Patrick Shadley says 2017. That is not correct. Not 2017. Kevin Harvick, fan for life, got it. I mean, his driver drives it Ford, so maybe that's why he figured it out. 2014 was the last time Ford had won both races at Richmond in the NASCAR Cup Series. Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski won those two races for Penske. Second season that Penske was in Ford at the time. 2017 wasn't it. Hang on, some people are saying 2017. Yeah, Joey Logano won in 2017, but Kyle Larson won the other Richmond race in 2017. 2014 was the most recent year. Logano and Keselowski. I was wondering why you guys were saying 2017 so confidently. No, 2017 it didn't happen. Not in the Cup Series at least. Maybe it happened in the Xfinity Series. I have no clue. But 2014 was the answer. Dale Jr. has just clinched the most laps led that time by at the start-finish line, already leading 200 laps in today's race. Quite a few drivers are a lap down. Not sure exactly how many are in the lead lap right now. Other name is Carmen Hatch. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I remember you from yesterday then. PS2 versions of NASCAR 08 and NASCAR 09 are still pretty good. Yeah, I would imagine they probably have more flaws, more than just the scoreboard at the top of the screen or the electronic scoring at the top of the screen with the next-gen console at the time. So that probably makes sense why the PS2 version was better. Opinionated, at least, but I can see why you guys would think that. I don't know where the speed out of the 29 car Kevin Harvick came from. Maybe he just needed clean air. Junior's still running some fast lap times, but you can tell he's a little bit tighter in traffic, or at least behind one other car. He hasn't really gotten super close to Harvick to be able to pass him yet either. Another former X1 driver, Daniel Kvyat, will attempt to qualify at Watkins Glen too. Awesome. Is there more than 40 entries this week? Kvyat does have one race already under his belt in the Cup Series this season. I think he ran at Indy a couple weeks ago, actually. Fairly recent. Allmendinger's racing, so okay. But that's a chartered car, though. The 16 car for colleagues chartered. The 91 car isn't. Kvyat's car probably isn't. Is the Bunny team racing this weekend randomly? I'd have to look at the entry list for this week. I don't remember MBM trying to run a race since Daytona earlier this year. So I don't know that they're necessarily racing. 39 entries. Yeah, they'll all be in then. As long as there's not more than 40 cars on the entry list. Yeah, Allmendinger did have some heating issues a couple weeks ago. Dale Jr. finally got around Kevin Harvick. Instantly feels the car free up a little bit, but in a good way. It's about to hit more lap traffic, though, fairly soon. Still one more pit stop away. Jr. has not had to make a green flag stop yet today. He's been able to pit during each of the two cautions so far. The plan is to stay out of the pits unless he gets a caution that is within his fuel window to make it to the end, which would be right around 128 laps to go. So he's still about 60 laps away from that point in the race yet. Kvyat, Hesmans, and Raikkonen are the open cars this week. Yeah, you're right. I did my math wrong. 50 laps, not 60. I'm not pitting as soon as that window opens under green either. I'm waiting it out in case we get a caution like we did the last time. Don't want to risk going a lap down in a situation where you've absolutely dominated the race. Outside of his pit crew losing a spot on pit road to Jeff Gordon every time, as far as on the track goes, Dale Jr.'s been perfect all day long. Overcooks it into 3 and 4 just a tad. Got a bit loose. That fine line he tries not to step over the edge on. Shane Mail dives underneath to John Andretti. Junior slides up clear of Andretti. Quite a big pack of about 5 cars up there. I think I see Ricky Rudd in that mess. So it doesn't look like he's DNF'd after his accident earlier. Shane Meal making some passes, trying not to lose another lap. I believe he's at least 3 laps down. As it is right now. One car around the bubble we have not seen at all today is Elliott Sadler in the 38. Hope that he hasn't DNF'd, and that would just automatically lock in the top 10 who are already in the top 10 into the chase by the checkered flag. 171 laps still to go. And that is actually Dale Jarrett up ahead. I saw the white back bumper. I didn't know if it might have been Rudd. It was not. Kenny Schrader going for it into turns 1 and 2 as he goes 3 wide underneath Dale Jarrett. Jeff Green, that was an aggressive move that time by Kenny Schrader. Makes the pass. Contact between Jarrett and Green on the outside. And Junior driving on by everybody. 5.7 second lead over Gordon. Largest lead right before that last caution was up to about 12.5 seconds over the 24 car. Haven't seen any debris cautions at all today. That's despite Ricky Rudd flipping, too. But like I said, Rudd could be out of the race. Which could explain it. Junior's definitely in the window to be able to make it on just one more stop. Without a doubt. Oh, we got a checkup going on. Oh, Jeff Gordon has blown an engine! And he's in the way of Dale Jr. Jr. trying to get out of Gordon's way. They started checking up in the middle of the corner, so Jeff Gordon, who was in second place, has just blown an engine. Second straight race, Gordon is DNF. Luckily, he was locked into the chase already. What a tough break. Lead down to 5 seconds now for whoever else is on the lead lap. But Gordon, from second place, has just blown a motor, and as far as we know, he might be the first driver out of the race today. He could actually move backwards even more in the point standings. That's a shame because he was second in points going into California. loses 4 spots in the standings after a DNF. Or sorry, was third in points going into California, loses 3 spots in a DNF, falls back to 6th. Good chance Kenseth's going to move ahead of him in the standings, potentially Mike Bliss, depending on where he finishes as well. So, I mean, Gordon's in, but he is losing a lot of spots in these last couple races for his seeding going into the chase. I mean, he could be 40-plus points out of first and could be the 8 or 9 seed potentially going into the New Hampshire race at Loudon. Edwards in second. Not too much damage on the front of the 8 car. He was underneath of a couple cars already, so he kind of had nowhere to go, and Gordon was down to the bottom of the track with an engine blowing up right in front of him, and Junior ran into the back of him. Then he kind of got hooked on it. He was trying not to turn him, so that way there wasn't going to be a caution in which he started. So luckily there was no wreck there as we continue to stay green. As far as we know, that's the first driver to have an engine issue so far tonight. 160 laps still to go. There could have been others. Ricky Rudd could have DNF'd for all we know. We have no clue if anybody has DNF'd for the first 2 cautions so far today. Pretty hard hits at both of them, but that second one was a lot more violent than the first. And we know Waltrip, Vickers, and Petty were still running after the first. Kyle Petty, Dale Jarrett were able to get back by Dale Jr. Gordon held him up a little bit. Jr. overdrives. Turn 3, a little contact with Jarrett on the outside. Zach, welcome into the stream. Riggs getting overdrive, turns 3 and 4, trying to stay in front of Dale Jr. right now. Actually got a puzzle right. My dad ever got on Wheel of Fortune. I mean, obviously it's a lot of luck involved in that game when you're spinning the wheel, but as far as solving the puzzles go, he's pretty quick with that stuff. Always personally preferred watching Jeopardy over Wheel of Fortune. I think a lot of it had to do with just Wheel of Fortune has a lot more luck involved. Like, Jeopardy's like all skill with everybody that's competing against one another. Whether it's knowledge and the skill of just hitting the buzzer as quickly as you can when you think you get the answer right in your head. Got Riggs trying to cross Dale Jr. back over. Jr. got a good drive off turn 4, though, and he's able to get back down in front of Riggs into turns 1 and 2. 150 laps to go this time by. Deep corner entry for Earnhardt. He was getting a little loose on corner entry with how low he was on the apron. Still able to get around the 176 car cleanly. Kyle Petty's been in front of him for quite a while. Still a 5-second lead. Petty looking to make a pass now. Rusty Wallace in the 2 car. Sliding up door to door. Contact between the 2 cars. I was going to say, Petty did not give Wallace a lot of room there. Really crowding him. Finally clears Wallace. Pretty good run off turn 2 for Rusty, but Dale Jr. looks to be potentially underneath them into 3 and 4. No, not quite. Jr. backing out of it. Didn't want to go 3 wide into the corner as Rusty Wallace is going to clear Kyle Petty right back. I think those two might be battling for position, but they're definitely 2 or 3 laps down. At least. Dale Jr. finally gets to the inside of Kyle Petty, who he has followed for quite some time. Rusty Wallace way up the hill. Notice the lap car is kind of slowly holding up Dale Jr. over the course of this run compared to the first few times he had entered lap traffic today following restarts, as it's about a 4.7 second lead. It was as much as almost a 7-second lead. Of course, he got held up a couple seconds with Jeff Gordon blew an engine. He got held up behind the 24 car. That's what dropped it down to 5 seconds, and then a couple tenths have been gained since then. Junior gets up into Rusty Wallace just a little bit through turns 3 to 4. Junior can get the rotation in the middle of the corner. I wonder if he does have enough damage on the front bumper of the car that maybe that's causing the car to get even tighter and dirtier than what it was before after he got into Gordon. Still wish we knew where Elliott Sadler was in the field right now. Just for the sake of the chase grid and seeing if he could get in above Bobby Labonte. Haven't really seen Kurt Busch at all yet today either, though. Junior hasn't lapped into the top 10. I mean, he probably did because the green flag stops, but not on actual speed. So it's very likely that those three drivers are probably inside the top 10 right now. We saw Bobby Labonte earlier, but that second time through when Junior got a little deeper into lap traffic before that caution because it was a longer green flag run, we didn't see Bobby Labonte at all. And of course, with Gordon blowing an engine, he was in second. It's going to give... I was a little confused there how I got in the wall like that. Tried to turn right to arc my corner off, ended up in the wall. I think Elliott Sadler DNF'd. It's possible. I haven't seen Kurt Busch yet, though, either. Maybe they both DNF'd. I mean, in that case, Kurt was ahead of Sadler when the race started, so Kurt Busch would be in with a DNF as long as Sadler DNFs, too. Waltrip going yet another lap down at the hands of his teammate Dale Jr., who has dominated tonight's race. And Kyle Busch will go another lap down as well. I forgot Mike Rockefeller was racing this weekend too. I don't know if he still is in IMSA or not, but I know he... Former Rolex 24 champ, if I'm not mistaken. Junior overdrives the entry to turns 3 and 4. 130 laps still to go. Pit window is almost open to the end of this race. Oh, we've got trouble. I was going to say, I saw the smoke in the middle of 3 and 4. I don't know who caused it. Man, we are right at the edge of the pit window. Now would be a weird time for a caution potentially to come out. Put into question whether these drivers can actually make it to the end on fuel or not. Smoke is still there. That was from the lap before. Wreck Carl Edwards. We don't need to wreck him. It won't matter. All that's going to do is make him a rival going into the chase. Casey Mears overdriving the corner after passing Travis Quaffle, opening the door up for Dale Jr. to get by both drivers, it looks like. Oh, Mears on the wall pretty good, and he'll lose that spot right back to Quaffle the next lap. Here, next corner, in fact. $125 laps to go this time by. Oscar Ramirez Herrera, welcome into the stream. I definitely know that we are too many points back to catch Carl Edwards, so, I mean, even if I did that in an attempt to try and win the regular season championship, there's no way I would be able to win it. Junior got to get by Joe Nemechek. Puts the 01 car another lap down. Probably see some drivers short pitting very soon, knowing the window is open to the end of the race on fuel. to make their third and final stop. Well, 90 laps into this green flag run so far. And Dale Jr. has built up a 6.5 second lead once again. And about a 12.5 second lead earlier, so there were likely some adjustment changes that were made from those cars a little bit further back compared to what happened the last run. Dale Jr. hasn't made any adjustments on that race car at all yet today. He's felt fast enough, doesn't feel that he needs to make any adjustment changes. Doesn't want to risk making the car bad. Jeff Burton drives it in to the inside wall, almost ended up in the outside wall too. 20 to go. 120 to go, excuse me. See Ryan Newman in the 12th car. And I see Ricky Rudd in the 21 who flipped earlier in the race. You have to be aware of drivers trying to hit pit road at really any lap going into turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. doesn't run into the back of him because if he causes a caution, he can't pit for fuel or tires. Under the yellow. Quarter tank of gas left for the 80. He also doesn't want to pit under green flag conditions himself if he can help it. So he'll try to go as far as he can. That was real life, would have been wreck. Yeah, clipping the inside wall. We've seen a few drivers do that today. Not how any of the wrecks have started. We have seen it happen a few times. Over a 7-second lead now. Hendrick fans, welcome into the stream. Contact up ahead. Bobby Labonte going to take it 3 wide off the exit turn 2. Contact. Labonte made an aggressive move, and I think Kurt Busch got squeezed into the wall. Kurt Busch, Bobby Labonte could potentially be racing for a playoff spot against each other, depending on where Elliott Sadler's at in the running order. That was an aggressive move by Labonte. Now it's 3 wide off the exit of this corner. Briefly, Kurt Busch pulls clear of the 21 of Rudd again. Junior overdrove the corner, barely kept it off of Rudd. Jamie McMurray will pit. And we've got some other takers onto pit road this time as well. So Bobby Labonte, Kurt Busch in danger of losing another lap here. It'll be interesting to see how many cars will pit now. They'll probably only be able to go about another 20 to 30 laps at the most on fuel anyway. And the window is open to the end. I'm surprised we haven't seen more drivers try to short pit yet. Craig Franklin, welcome into the stream. Large pack of cars right in front of the race leader, Dale Jr. Kurt Busch had a big run. Couldn't quite get to the inside of Labonte that time, though. Trying to be careful, trying to get underneath another car going into 3 and 4 in case any of them want to pit. Making a couple more passes. Kurt Busch side by side alongside Bobby Labonte again. Kurt on the inside, Bobby on the outside. 109 laps to go at Richmond. Bobby Labonte going to lose another lap. Dale Jr. squeezes to the inside of the 97 of Kurt Busch as well. Watch the cars exiting pit road. That's where Ricky Rudd had wrecked earlier and ended up flipping, but Kurt Busch going to lose another lap, so he's on the same lap as Bobby Labonte right now, with Junior lapping them both. Still unaware of exactly where Elliott Sadler is at, if Elliott Sadler is even still in the race. He was the only driver below 10th in points that still had a shot to actually get inside the top 10 and make it into the original chase format. You only qualify in on points. We're going to have 3 drivers that won a race this season that aren't going to make the chase. Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick, and John Andretti all mathematically eliminated for pointing their way in. Under our current playoff format, they'd all be in. Well, not Andretti because he's outside the top 30 in points. At least as his win. I mean, maybe he is inside the top 30 now. A couple races ago, he was not. Man, Junior was out of the gas for a while. Still made contact. 105 to go. Still haven't seen too many cars hit pit road yet. Everybody's kind of in the same patient mode right now of not wanting to pit under green. We saw green flag pit stops and a caution come out in the middle of them the last time. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Dale Jr. That's all he's got left currently. Right front starting to go away on the 8 car of Dale Jr. A few other cars on pit road currently. More entering pit road 3 and 4 routinely. The driver's directly in front of Dale Jr. pit that time. 102 to go. Michael Waltrip's in. There's Mike Bliss in the 0 car just up ahead. Danger of losing another lap. A little power slide getting into turn 3. Chopping off the corner on entry just a bit too much. Not compared to some of the other cars today that we've seen hit that inside wall. And caution is out. Trouble in turns 3 and 4. Quite a bit of smoke. Our 3rd caution of the day. And every caution has been in turn 3 so far. Oh, Bobby Labonte was involved. Wow. I don't know who was the main cause of it, but Labonte was the car that got squeezed on the outside. It was a 176, it looked like. One of the fantasy drivers, and he got up into Bobby Labonte getting into 3. So caution is out for the 3rd time. Dale Jr. will get the pit during the yellow. As will everybody else who has not yet hit pit road. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments on the 8 car. They've lost 1 spot on pit road every time so far. Hopefully he doesn't do it this time, but will this be the final restart of the race? Try a 50% race at Richmond, NASCAR 9. What lap was the Ricky Rudd flip? I think it was lap 180 something? 177, 180, 189, somewhere around there. Looks like Tony Stewart is in the lead now. Green flag back in the air. Stewart is the leader. Junior kind of spun his tires off the start. That's going to cost him. Junior trying to get back down to the bottom. Tony Stewart leads. That is problemsome for Dale Jr. Oh, and Junior gets hooked. Saves it in the middle of 3 and 4. I think Elliott Sadler was the one who got into him in the combos. car, and a great save by Dale Jr., but he's going to lose a lot of time to Stewart as he's back in traffic. I didn't think Jr. did anything wrong there. I think Sadler went in a little hot. Jr. overdrives that corner that time, makes contact with the 77 of Quaffle. 95 laps still to go. Jr. knows he's got the fastest car in the field. The problem is if Tony Stewart finishes second, then Dale Jr. will not finish second in the regular season standings, even with the max points day. And especially now with Tony Stewart getting 5 bonus points for leading a lap. Now, Dale Jr.'s already locked up the most laps led in this race because he's led almost 300 laps. But the way we run right now, even if Jr. gets past Stewart, I don't even know if there's anybody else on the lead lap outside of those two. Well, somebody else would have gotten the free pass, I guess, during the caution, so somebody else would be on the lead lap also. That's the third time we've had pit stops today, all under caution. Tony Stewart... Or sorry, I should say Dale Jr. has lost the lead every time. 189. Aggressive move by Kurt Busch, going 3 wide. Still 3 wide as Earnhardt and Kenseth. Contact! Almost a wreck as I think McMurray got into the wall off of turn 2. And then bounced into Kenseth, who bounced into Earnhardt. Kurt Busch was just ahead of all that. Everybody scrambling around. Bobby Labonte, last driver in on points, was involved in that last wreck. I saw the damage on the right side of his car on that restart as well. Tony Stewart still 2 seconds ahead of Earnhardt, and he's got clean air. No more lap cars in front of the 20. I don't know what position Truex is in, but he's having a great run. I would not be surprised if he's in the top 5 right now. Oh, and caution's out again. Our 4th yellow of the race. I think we had trouble off of turn 2 at the back of the pack. So our 4th yellow. And it looked like debris actually off the 176. I think Kyle Busch ran it over. So it looked like the rear bumper came off of the 176 car. And I think Kyle Busch ran it over. Caution flag is out again. And Dale Jr. is going to pit for 4 fresh tires because there's not many cars on the lead lap right now. He'll probably lose a position or 2, but he'll take fresher tires. Why not? No limit in the Cup Series for ourselves on this game. So back-to-back cautions within about a 10-lap period of each other then following that restart. And we'll have another one late in this race with a little over 80 laps to go. Little mistake. Fuel man trying to get the fuel in the car. So about 10 lap fresher tires for Dale Jr. here, give or take. A couple laps in that. It'll be better than equal tires. I don't know how much of a difference it'll make. This surface in 05 wasn't really worn out that much at Richmond. But it is a short track, so I'm sure at least on the short run it'll make a difference. But they'll probably even out pretty quickly over about a 20 lap period. So we'll see. Green flag back in the air. Junior will restart 3rd then. He lost 1 spot because of it. I think that was worth taking fresher tires. And he actually got to the bottom pretty quickly. Casey Kane's the driver in 2nd. And Jeremy Mayfield was the driver in which Dale Jr. just got down below. As they go into turns 3 and 4. Greg Biffle overdrives it into Tony Stewart on the outside. And Dale Jr. will get to the lead off turn 4. Greg Biffle bulldoze Tony Stewart out of the way. And now Stewart's back to 3rd. Casey Kane's up to 2nd. That would allow for Dale Jr., if Stewart finishes 3rd or worse, to get to 2nd in the regular season standings. And Truex getting back on the lead lap momentarily until Jr. is able to get back by him off turn 4. Casey Kane trying to get his first career win as well. He didn't win at all in his rookie season, and he has not won yet this year. He's all over the back of the 8 car right now. Junior protects the bottom into turns 3 and 4. And now Truex is going to get to the inside. And doesn't look like Truex wants to follow the 8 of Dale Jr. for right now. And now he will. Now, was this the final restart of the race? Junior doesn't have to worry about getting aero loose on a flat or short track. He just kind of wants Martin Truex Jr. to keep pace with him so he can get a better finish. Try to get the rookie potentially his best finish of the season. I don't know that Truex has had a top 5 this year or not in the Cup Series. Yeah, Junior black flag for blocking. No, not NASCAR. Casey Kane is going to be a big lifesaver for Dale Jr. to finish second in the regular season standings if he finishes second place. Tony Stewart's right behind him, though. Might have to monitor that just as this race continues, as we have just 80 laps to go this time by. Junior's got a 9/10 of a second lead. He's been the car to beat all day. He's finally back out in front. He's got a little bit fresher tires that will even out at some point in time. I don't think he'll give up the lead to Pitt late in this race. So you better hope that those guys stay out if we get any more cautions the rest of the way. I'm sure Truex is going to try to help Dale Jr. win this race as well with the position Jr. is in. Tony Stewart's probably going to be upset with Greg Biffle after this one. Tony's known for being a little bit of a hothead. Cost him the lead and potentially a second place finish in the regular season standings because Casey Kane got up to second after that too. That was a double whammy. In a bad way for Stewart. He's all over the back of the 9 car still, though. They're losing about a 1/10 a second every 2 to 3 laps to Dale Jr. Jr.'s pace not as quick as what it was earlier on in the day. Really has to hope it stays green to the end, knowing that all these lap cars are going to be lining up on the inside of lead lap cars unless the caution comes out with 10 or less laps to go. We still have 75 laps left as of right now. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content again if you have not already. Watching our NASCAR 06 regular season finale at Richmond. The chase will begin later this week at New Hampshire. I believe we have a Truck Series race at New Hampshire coming up tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. And it will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our NASCAR 06 season there. I do have it up in the community tab already for the weekly schedule. 1.3 seconds is the difference between Dale Jr. and Casey Kane. Can Casey Kane get his first career win? What has been a rough season for himself, as he has not only not gotten that first career win yet in his second full-time season of the Cup Series, but also he is going to miss the chase. Been outside the top 20 in points almost all year as well. Teammate Jeremy Mayfield's been outrunning him as he's right around 15th in points. I think Mayfield's also looking like he could get a top 10 finish today as well. Assuming Carl Edwards is still in this race, which I think he is, I don't think Tony Stewart's going to catch up for the regular season championship. He's in position to pass him if, and only if, Edwards DNFs and Stewart finishes pretty much about where he's at right now. He would pass him. Also worth noting that Greg Biffle is close enough in points to actually get around Stewart for second, or I guess it would be third if Tony Stewart finishes third or worse, but it is possible if Biffle finishes a handful of positions ahead of Stewart to be able to pass him for a spot in the regular season standings as well. And I didn't even really think about that when Biffle had sideswiped Stewart in front of him on that restart going into turn 3. Junior's starting to get a little bit quicker now over the course of this run as he's starting to pull away from his teammate Truex as well, who was losing touch from his protege Dale Jr. We're going to alternate through the different camera angles one final time at today's race for about a dozen laps. Just over 300 laps completed. Dale Jr.'s led over 300 laps in tonight's race at Richmond. Next two races also on shorter tracks, just like Richmond. Quarter mile longer in length than this track as they're two 1 mile racetracks. We've got the Magic Mile first at New Hampshire. Second race of the chase is at Dover at the Monster Mile. Junior's been good on the short tracks this season. Although Dover really didn't work out well for him in the Cup Series. He did get a good finish there in the Busch Series race, and I also struggled in the truck race there. It was probably my worst track on this game, outside of Daytona. Like Daytona I'm pretty bad at, but Dover I just could not get the grip in any of the 3 series we were there in, so definitely going to have to practice for a while before that race, knowing it is a chase race as well. I still have to race there in the Busch Series yet, also, and try to survive in a late season race there, knowing we're trying to catch Clint Boyer in our Do It For Dale series on that side of things on this game. It'll be fun. Got another car blowing an engine on the inside of the track in turns 1 and 2, and it looks to be Jason Leffler in the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Leffler trying to make his way back to pit road. Hopefully we stay green. Dale Jr. doesn't want to see another caution. Leffler still on the back straightaway as of right now. 60 laps to go. Now he's getting into turns 3 and 4. Everybody's getting around him on the outside. And Leffler is on pit road, so we do continue to stay green. Luckily, everybody missed the 11 car. Not a lot of room to run on the apron at Richmond. That kind of a situation. That's why we almost saw a wreck when Jeff Gordon blew an engine much earlier on in the night. Well, Junior definitely got to catch lap traffic yet before the end of this race with ease. Probably within the next 10 to 20 laps. 20 at the very most. I'm sure he'll catch it well before then. He's done a great job getting through lap traffic today. He's been patient when he's needed to. He's had incidents happen around him, both behind him during the first yellow and right in front of him on the second caution. That third yellow was nowhere close to him. So he was on the other end of the racetrack. And then a debris caution at the back of the field following that last restart as well. One of the cleanest races Dale Jr.'s had in a while in the Cup Series on this season. Back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race, this time by at the start-finish line. Just over a 3.5 second lead for about the 4th different time of the race for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Going for an 11-win season. The modern era record was in 1998 when Jeff Gordon won 13 races. So if Dale Jr. can win 3 races in the chase, he would be able to break the modern era record for the most wins in a single year. Obviously, Richard Petty's record is going to be untouchable. I don't think I'll ever break that in the NASCAR video game. We could try to go for Tony Stewart's record, though, for the most wins in a chase as well. Try to go for 6. Now, granted, at this time period, that wasn't the record, because that wasn't set till 2011. Maybe Sadler wrecked. I saw Sadler. He's in the combos car. I saw him on the second to last restart. So he is still in the race. He's right around where Bobby Labonte is, though. I don't think he's enough positions ahead of him. If they both finish inside the top 10, it's 4 points per position until you get in the top 5. Then it's 5 points per position in the top 5. So let's say theoretically Sadler finishes like 7th. He would still have to beat Bobby Labonte by quite a few spots to make up 42 points. Neither Labonte or Sadler have led a lap. Now, Labonte does have damage from the second to last caution and the last accident we've seen today. So that could slow him down because it did look like he was losing spots in the restart. That is probably Sadler's best bet. It's just hoping Labonte fades after he got caught up in that last wreck. Yeah, he won 5, but 6 chase races would be the record because he does have 5 wins. To break the record, we would need 6. I don't know if anybody's ever going to break that record. Kyle Larson came close last year. I think he won 4. He won 4 of like the last 6 or 7 races, too. Actually, you know what? I think he might have won 5 playoff races last year because he won the championship. He won the Roval. He won Texas, Kansas, Bristol. Yeah, he won 5. So Larson did win 5 races in the playoffs last year, but they were all in the last 7. 7 or 8. 8 races. Last 8 races from Bristol on. If that video game move on the last lap at Darlington would have worked, he actually could have broken Stewart's record for the most wins in a playoff. What 6 tracks are in the chase that are good for me? New Hampshire, I definitely think, is one I should win. I won at Talladega earlier this season. We know Junior's good at Talladega. But I'm not good on the super speedways in general in the EA Sports game, so I really don't know how I won Talladega, but I did. So if I was to do that in any series on this game, it would probably be the Cup Series. Phoenix I won at earlier in the season, and Martinsville I won at earlier in the year. So those are the only tracks I won at earlier in the season that we go to again. We haven't raced at Homestead yet. We haven't raced at Kansas yet. I DNF'd in the 600 at Charlotte. We have to go back there. That's going to be tough. Dover, I just ran terrible. I did not have a good car that race. You thought California was edgy. That was even worse on handling. So we've got to get that right. Even though I won at Martinsville earlier in the year, I think that was a 50% race. This will be a 500 lapper, 100% race, so it'll be much different as far as just the longevity and their survival of the paperclip. National Relaxation Day. Well, today was a day off of work for me, so for my full-time job at least. Convenient. Jeff Green up the track. Oh my goodness. Right into Dale Jarrett and John Andretti. Andretti's still in the wall. Junior got in the back of Green after the contact between the three cars in front of him as they were 3 wide going into the corner. Green flatlined it. And it leads down to about a 1.4 second gap between first and second. And it looks, I can't tell who's in second still, if it's Kane or Stewart. I mean, there was just nowhere to go for Dale Jr. there. 1.3 seconds. I don't think he's got too much damage from that hit from Jeff Green in front of him. Hopefully he doesn't. He did get into Gordon earlier after Gordon blew an engine in front of him too. So the only 2 times he's really ever gotten into anybody, at least in the front of his car. And they just about wrecked right in front of the leader. Still 1.4 second lead. There's a few lap cars at second place that have to get by before they even think about trying to close in on Dale Jr. There's still 35 laps to go this time by. So there is still time left, and now the gap had closed a couple seconds, but Junior's starting to widen that lead back out again over the last few laps. He's really got to get through these lap cars unscathed, especially these 4 up ahead that caused the problems the first time. Or at least 2 of them did, which was, I mean, it was all Jeff Green's fault. It wasn't really Dale Jarrett's fault. He was just in the middle being 3 wide. Nowhere to really go. Junior sitting behind him for right now. Wants to get it by him quickly. Looking low underneath Terry Labonte. Labonte going to drive it in deep, and he gets up into the 49. Up and over, or at least around goes the 49 car of Kenny Schrader. No caution. He was spinning down the track going into turns 3 and 4. And no yellow flag there. Goodness gracious. Last thing Junior wants to see is a caution right now when these guys are trying to wreck. I don't know how that wasn't a yellow. I mean, Schrader obviously lost control, backed it into the outside wall, then started sliding down the racetrack. Nobody else is collected. It looked like second on back had to check up, though, because now Dale Jr.'s got a 2.5 second lead again. He actually was able to pull ahead about an extra second that last lap, or 2 laps ago when that happened. That might be the most aggressive thing I've ever seen Terry Labonte do behind a race car. There's like Kenny Schrader, too. I'm sure those guys were probably good friends. They seem like they get along well with each other. They were actually teammates at one point in time, actually. Back in the 90s. Got another car on pit road who might have just blown an engine. Not going to be able to really see who it is because their pit box is towards the front of pit road. I would not doubt if it was the 49 car of Kenny Schrader, but somebody else has blown up late in this race. As long as it wasn't one of the bubble drivers in the chase, it's not going to affect the championship much. Well, or if it's Carl Edwards, of course, because Tony Stewart's in the top 3. Well, they aren't friends no more. That's true. It'd be kind of cool if there's a rival system with the AI cars in this game, so they'd be body slamming each other like they would with you if you ran into them. Sterling Marlin just chopped off Dale Jr. It's already multiple laps down. Jr. got to get by in turns 3 and 4. He's got more clean air in front of him. 26 laps to go. Do I know what drivers are racing at the Glen? I mean, you went through the list of everybody, so yeah. I mean, I know who's pretty much racing on a week-to-week basis. Some of the Rick Ware cars kind of change on a week-to-week basis, especially on the road courses. And then the open entries obviously could pop up at random times, but especially on road courses. "24 laps to go this time by for Dale Jr. A little more calm, at least in front of him for what it appears. Hoping everybody just stays off of one another to the end. Had a couple near late cautions right in front of Dale Jr. Everybody's plenty good on fuel and tires to the end of the race. They don't have to pit if we did see the stay green or get another caution here. Had 2 of them in these last 100 laps already. And 4 total. Cautions for the most part kind of evenly spaced apart throughout the course of the race, except for the last 2 that kind of came out within 10 laps of each other. But one was for debris because of the wreck that brought out the 3rd yellow. So I'll give it a little bit of a pass. We've definitely seen some tempers from the AI drivers today, but not on Dale Jr., just on each other. Making mental mistakes on top of it, I'm sure. Ryan Blaney retires, who would I cheer for? I have no clue. I mean, he's a long way from his retirement, so who knows? It could be somebody that's not even in NASCAR right now. Slide into turns 3 and 4 as Dale Jr. is trying to get by Jimmy Spencer. I see Martin Truex Jr. just up ahead. Looks like he's been losing quite a few spots over recent laps. And he's about to go a 2nd lap down. And he will. Through turns 3 and 4. 19 laps to go, 2.9 second lead for Dale Jr. Maybe Kansas and Hopstead. The mile and a halves are... I run well at the mile and a halves, I just don't win at them. I went through my finishes on the mile and a half tracks before I got that DNF at California. I think it might have been after I won Bristol. Whatever the case was, I look back at the finishes, and I've had good finishes. I just haven't won races on those tracks. Like, I'm kind of consistently in the back half of the top 10. I don't have winning speed, but I have top 10 speed. It's risky to have the cars too edgy at those tracks to make them potential race-winning cars, just because the handling is so tough. And if I wreck, I mean, we've DNF'd 3 times. They've all been on your mile and a half tracks and bigger, so it's definitely the toughest races for me to get to the end of. 2 of them are 2-mile racetracks, and then the Coke 600, which was the longest race of the year, which happens to be on a mile and a half. "15 laps to go this time by at the start-finish line for Earnhardt. And he's hoping that Casey Kane is still in 2nd place, so that way Dale Jr. has a shot to try and get the 2nd place finish in the regular season standings Because Tony Stewart led a lap and actually led a few laps, I'm almost thinking Stewart has to finish 4th or worst. I was thinking if he didn't lead any laps, he could have finished 3rd and Junior would have had a max points day. He would get 2nd, but I'm thinking Tony Stewart might have to finish 4th because he was able to lead laps because he won the race off pit road during those last pit stops under caution with about 100 laps to go. Restarted in the lead, led after that restart a little bit. And then it was actually the following restart where he lost the lead after the field got bunched up following a debris caution. I don't even know if we'll see Carl Edwards. The only time I've really seen him is on restarts so far. I mean, there's no need to race him overly aggressively. I want to be friends with all the chase drivers going into the chase. I don't want them wrecking me, costing me a championship. We mentioned at the start of the race, you can't afford to DNF, and you really have to scud it out, get the best finish you possibly can for 10 straight races, because the points are going to be so congested together going into New Hampshire. And it's going to be important Dale Jr. takes advantage of probably his best racetrack, or at least my best track on this game. Richmond, New Hampshire are my 2 best tracks. I'd say New Hampshire I'm actually a little bit better at in this game rather than Richmond, because I did finish 2nd in a truck race at Richmond. And I've won every New Hampshire race I've raced at between all 3 series so far. Actually, I haven't raced at the truck series yet, but that's the next race on the truck side. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 10 laps to go at the line. If we do get a caution, all the lap cars will line up behind the lead lap cars for a late restart, so it might actually give an opportunity, better opportunity for 2nd or 3rd place to have a shot to win. Won't be a fight for the bottom, although that would also mean that Dale Jr. wouldn't have to worry about a car underneath and costing him going into turn 1 first lap after the restart either. 4.3 second lead for Dale Jr. The way things are running right now. Coming to 8 laps to go. Junior going to get to the inside of Rusty Wallace in turns 3 and 4. Make that 7 laps to go at the line. Winner take all, no friends. Jimmy and Jeff will take each other out. Might make Mr. H a little upset. It's the 176 car right in front of us who brought out that debris caution earlier. He's actually been involved in 2 cautions today, plus the debris caution, so he's actually been involved in 3. So I think he was the car on the outside when Ricky Rudd had wrecked and ended up flipping earlier on in the day. 5 laps to go for Dale Jr. at the line that time. Things are going well for him right now. Caution comes out. It could end the race at this point. Junior on the inside of the 176 getting into 3. Got a little loose. Wanting to sit behind him for time being. He doesn't have to pass these guys. He might as well take it easy. 4 laps to go. '76 drives the corner. Dale Jr. kind of slid a little bit. He's starting to get a little loose in turn 3. It's 2 laps in a row. He's gotten a bit sideways there. Probably just entering a bit too flat into the corner. Well, about to see the chase grid. Two laps left. Look at all that traffic just up ahead. Luckily, Dale Jr. doesn't have to deal with that before the end of this race. They'll be coming to the white flag this time by. So 176 just careened the inside wall. Going into turn 3. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. No cautions on the final lap. 176 kind of been overdriving the corners here these last few laps, so Junior will get around him through turns 1 and 2. Not going to even have a shot to catch Nemechek. Checkered flag in the air. Dale Jr. will win his 11th race of the regular season, and it will be the regular season finale, getting his sweep at Richmond, as a Chevy will win the Chevy Rock and Roll 400. So we get to see where Tony Stewart finished. Junior will at least finish 3rd in the regular season standings with this win today. And depending on where Stewart finished, he may finish 2nd in the regular season standings, but we'll see. And there's a very good chance, unless Carl Edwards was one of those drivers that blew an engine late, that Carl Edwards is going to be the regular season champion following tonight at Richmond. Here's a look at the finishing results. Tony Stewart got around Casey Kane late. He did finish 2nd, so I do think that Tony Stewart will finish 2nd with the 2nd place finish. If Casey Kane could have passed him, there was a chance. There was a possibility that Stewart may have finished 3rd in the regular season standings. Jimmy Johnson might have had to get around him, though, because Stewart did lead 11 laps, so he got 5 bonus points. Max points day for Earnhardt led 381 of the 400 laps, dominated the race from the pole. Tony Stewart, who qualified 2nd, finished 2nd as well, led laps on his own. Casey Kane gets one of his better runs of the year, started deep in the field but finished 3rd. Jimmy Johnson ends up 4th, and Brian Vickers rounds out the top 5. Only 4 cars finished on the lead lap. Great run for rookie Martin Truex Jr. He finished 2 laps down, but finishes 6th. So a good run for DEI there as well, even though he is not going to make the chase. Kevin Harvick ends up 7th, Jeremy Mayfield 8th, Mike Bliss getting a top 10 to lock his way into the chase, and Elliott Sadler gets a top 10 as well, finishing in 10th place. Carl Edwards ended up 11th. Mark Martin 12th, Jamie McMurray. There is a chance Sadler has beaten Bobby Labonte. I noticed Labonte had quite a bit of damage from that wreck he was involved in earlier. He finished 19th. Sadler beats Labonte by 9 positions. But I do think that Bobby Labonte still got in. I'm not sure which Busch this is, if it's Kurt or Kyle. If it is Kurt, then Kurt Busch will be in as well. If that's Kurt Busch, that's going to be problematic. At 28th, but with where Sadler finished, having a top 10. Michael Waltrip finished 7 laps down at 32nd. He had a lot of damage after that first caution of the day. Our DNFs today were just a few of them. Jeff Gordon, Jason Leffler, and Greg Biffle actually blew an engine, so he might fall outside of the top 5 in the standings. That was the last driver that DNF'd. Sadler did beat Labonte. I don't think he made up 42 points on him. 9 spots. I think it was 4 points for 10th and then 3 on back. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 4 is 28. I think he only gained 28 points on him, if I'm not mistaken. If I do my math correctly, and he was 42 back, so I don't think he got in. He put up a good effort, though. He got a top 10 today, and the other 2 didn't. And there is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in victory lane in the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 at Richmond. Another career win for Dale Jr. at Richmond as well. And we'll check out the chase standings going into the first race of the chase at New Hampshire for the Sylvania 300 later this weekend. Yeah, Mike Bliss in the chase. I want to see Mike Bliss finish 2nd in points. Means none of the other DEI cars made it. Let Mike Bliss finish 2nd in points, please. Yeah, so Tony Stewart finishing 2nd. We're not going to see exactly how many points, who got in by who, unfortunately, but Carl Edwards won the regular season championship with his 11th place finish today at Richmond. He pretty much, as long as he finished inside the top 30, he was going to get it. So even though he didn't have a great run, didn't finish on the lead lap, didn't finish in the top 10, he still gets the regular season title. That's how consistent Edwards was leading up to the final races of the regular season. Tony Stewart ends up with the 2 seed. Dale Jr., the most winningest driver this season with 11 wins, is the number 3 seed. Jimmy Johnson moves up to 4th. Greg Biffle lost 2 spots with that engine failure today. Jeff Gordon blew an engine as well, but he actually didn't lose a spot. He'll still be 6th. Mike Bliss moves up a spot with the top 10 today. He'll be the 7th seed as he passed Matt Kenseth in points, who was already locked in going into the day. Kenseth was 8th in the seeding. Kurt Busch ends up 9th in the seeding, and I do believe Bobby Labonte is the last driver in, I believe by 28 points over Elliott Sadler following Richmond. So I'm thinking 28 points was the difference. So Sadler can finish as high as 11th in points, as well as everybody else outside of the chase. Our teammate Truex is 20th right now, despite a 6th place finish today. And Michael Waltrip still 27th in points, unfortunately. 3 drivers that made the chase, that missed the chase had wins. Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman both had wins. So under our current playoff format we currently have, they would be in, and also the field would be expanded anyway, so they would have been in on points regardless. So up through Jeremy Mayfield would have actually been in under today's playoff format. Yeah, I was going to say, John Andretti's still outside the top 30. He won at Michigan on fuel mileage, so he wouldn't have gotten in. So yeah, the top 16 you see would have been in like today's playoff field. But just 10 drivers, and it's all on points here from here on out. 45 points separates the top 10 going into these final 10 races. Any one of them can win this title. John Wise, welcome to the stream. What size are the diecast behind me? They're all 124 scale. It's a big case that fits like 24 of them. I have one on the top because I'm out of room. I need to get another case. Been here since you were 4 years old. Maybe he'll make a late run for the championship. Made it by 14 points. Okay, so my math was a little off. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe I didn't have the points increments correct. That could have been it. See the regular season stats? So in this game, you can't actually check it, but I have been keeping track. So I guess I can read you off some of the stats. I need to put in the laps led I led for this race first. Alright, so with all the laps led today, 381 for Dale Jr. Dale Jr. has now, in the regular season alone, led 2,524 laps, has 11 wins, 16 top 5s, and 17 top 10s for Dale Jr. so far this season. So if that didn't get us, if 16 top 5s, 17 top 10s, and 11 wins finished us third in the regular season standings after 26 races, here's what beat us. Tony Stewart finished second in the regular season standings. He had just 1 win, 12 top 5s after today, and 19 top 10s. So he had 2 more top 10s than us, which was the big difference because he only beat us by a couple points for second. So that was the difference there, really. It's just the finishes, mainly those 2 DNFs in the last 2 races were the big differences. Or in the last 4 races of the regular season, I had 2 DNFs, Michigan and California. And then Carl Edwards this season so far, he didn't get a top 10 today. Carl Edwards has 5 wins, 13 top 5s, which is actually 1 more than Stewart, but 3 less than Junior. 21 top 10s for Carl Edwards. He had 4 more top 10s than me en route to his regular season championship. That means Carl Edwards, in 26 races, has only finished outside the top 10 5 times. And coincidentally, 2 of those were in the last 4 races. At Michigan, he had an engine issue, and then today he finished 11th. That is insane. I think he finished outside the top 10 in California, too, if I remember correctly. So he's kind of been sliding here at the end of the regular season, which is not the time to start doing that. Mike Bliss, for instance. Mike Bliss had a top 10 today, so Mike Bliss now has 18 top 10s, 8 top 5s, no wins this season. I can't keep track of laps led. The only other thing I can really read off as far as my statistics are the average finish. I gotta get my phone for that so I can get a calculator out, because I do track like all my finishes at least. But I've been keeping track of the top 10 so that way I can keep the statistics up so you guys could see. Alright, so calculator. Bear with me for a quick moment. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Alright, so we had a win, plus 36th place finish. California. First at Bristol, 41st at Michigan. Let's see here. Second at Watkins Glen. Second at Watkins Glen. First at Indy. Second at Pocono. First at New Hampshire. Third at Chicago. 34th at Daytona. First at Infineon. 32nd at Michigan. I just realized Michigan was not a good track for me. I finished 32nd and 41st in the 2 Michigan races. Had a win at Pocono the first time there. 36th at Dover. So I mentioned Dover was not a good track for me. 41st in the 600. Had a hot streak right before that. First at Richmond. Second in the Southern 500. Talladega I won. One at Phoenix. So that was the only time I went back-to-back was Phoenix and Dega. 14th at Texas. First at Martinsville. 7th in the first Bristol race. 16th at Atlanta. 26th at Vegas. First in the first California race and 27th in the Daytona 500. Equates to 330 divided by 26 races. So we've got an average finish of a 12.6 right now. Not bad. Probably third best. I mean, considering we're third in overall point standings right now. Well, you tried. Yeah, I unfortunately did not win the regular season title. But luckily, it's not the real championship. We still have 10 races to go. Thankfully. So I don't like losing championships. I try to show out that I'm good at these games. One key factor in us to win the chase is called to have a Kyle Busch 2008 season collapse. Yeah, that would help. And we're only 10 points back, so I mean... we're right there. If we just win at New Hampshire, we'll automatically come out with the points lead. Because we're close enough to Edwards and Stewart in front of us. But, yeah, 12.6 average finish so far in the first 26 races. So, obviously, there's still room to grow there. That's with 17 top 10. So, I finished in the top 10 all but 9 races so far this season. That's going to end tonight's stream. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I do believe tomorrow night will be the Truck Series race at New Hampshire on NASCAR 06. That will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yep, that is the case. So race 19 of 25 at New Hampshire for the Truck Series. On the following night, we'll start the chase at New Hampshire for the Cup Series side of things. Thanks for everybody tuning in, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 7. Have a good rest of your night, everybody.